Hi, my name is Patrick. I'm from the Naples Botanical Garden. I work in the education department, and today we're going to be talking about some gardening techniques involving saving your own seeds. So I have a tomato here that I let ripen on the vine. You really want to let it ripen as much as possible on the plant. That ensures that the majority of the seeds will be mature and will then hopefully germinate for you. And there are a few different ways you can save the seeds from a tomato. They all, of course, involve cutting it open first. And now, if you want to make sure that you don't have hybrid tomatoes, if you have hybrid tomatoes, the seeds they produce will not produce a plant that is like the plant you were growing. You want to make sure you have an heirloom variety that is not planted too close to another variety. I only have one tomato plant at home, so I am fairly confident that these seeds were all self-pollinated, and they will give me plants that will produce the exact same tomatoes I have been getting from it. So first thing you want to do is cut it in half so that you can get to those seeds. And then the two ways you can do this, one, if you have a little bit of water in a container, is the fermentation process. You would want, of course, let them ferment for anywhere from 3 to 5 days, and that process can get a little smelly. It will cause a little mold, but what you do is you would just squeeze the seeds and the pulp out of your tomato into the water, like so. And then, any big chunks you want to get out, but the seeds there, what the fermentation process is going to do is, if you see, these seeds have a little gel coating all around them, and that jelly does kind of inhibit the germination process. Though you could also plant these straight in the ground, and some will germinate depending on the time of year. That is one way to do it. You can, of course, still plant tomatoes now in March, but as we get closer to summer, you're going to want to save your seeds rather than replant them right away. But after you do that, you would just basically let them sit in the water. You might get some mold growing on here. Like I said, it's not the nicest process, but after about 3-4 days, you would then drain this water off. The seeds would actually settle on the bottom, and all the other materials should actually float to the top, and that'll let your seeds separate. And then you want to dry them completely. So in a few days, I'll come back to this little container right here. I'll empty the water, and then I will spread the seeds out on a paper towel. And then I will, of course, put them onto a plate so they can completely dry. You want to make sure the seeds completely dry so that they don't get any mold or fungus or rot on you while you're saving them. But if you do save them correctly, they can last for quite a few years. Of course, another way to save seeds would be just straining them out right on to a paper towel, like so. So I still have a few seeds in the smaller half of my tomato here. And if you just spread those out onto a paper towel and let them completely dry, they will dry out. They won't necessarily last as long because they'll still have that jelly around them, but they certainly, and not as many will necessarily germinate because that jelly does have some inhibitors in it. But you could save them this way as well. Takes less time. You don't have to go through the fermentation step. It is a lot nicer. You're just spreading them out on some paper towel, and then you could transfer them to a nice, just a little saucer plate and set that aside somewhere nice and cool and dry, and let them dry out for at least a week, about 5 days to a week, and then you'd be able to package them up and set them aside in usually a nice paper envelope to keep them. And that's what I'm gonna do with these seeds once they're done fermenting. Well, that's how you would want to save seeds from a tomato, and I thank you for spending some time with me today.